I did that last video, which was like I did it like a soft voice, and that was nice. That was I felt like I was in recovery. There was like just recovering my vocal cords from the movie phone to the soft voice, and then I'm like, all right, do I come back and be like, hi guys, how you doing? Everything okay? I hope so. Relax. You ever been that one guy who, for some reason, if somebody's freaking out, you can't help but tell them to relax, even though you know deep down inside and 100% that never works? If somebody's freaking out and you tell them to relax, it's like going, freak out some more! But you can't help, but that line always escapes from your mouth. Relax. I'm that guy. And anyways, this is 4 movies. That has nothing to do with anything, except that just brought up in my mind when I was thinking about that. Anyways, this is 4 movies where I'll be discussing 4 movies that have something in common. But what they have in common, I know. But do you? If you do, say it before the end of the video. And if you don't, stay till the end of the video and we'll discuss it together and it'll be good. Anyways, let's get into it. First movie. Oh, whoops. I almost dropped the movie. Final Fantasy. The live action movie, if you will. Live action. They're, like I said, this is one of the only movies, like I would say one of the first movies that was this style of animation. I don't know if they made it in movies other than that, because in fact, this movie is one of those things where it's like, who makes it? Have you seen it? You know who makes it? Nobody. There is a dismal ending. I don't know how the studios okayed that. Like, with all these Hollywood movies, all these Hollywood endings, this movie seemed to make one where most everybody dies. But interesting concept, interesting plot. Like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's definitely not a bad movie. Dismal, maybe, but not bad. Interesting, entertaining, well played, with this style of animation that is off and on, but I think that they just haven't found the right niche for it, if you will, or something like that. I don't know, because like they do that style of animation, but I don't think it ever becomes successful enough. So I don't know what in the world their plans are for that. I don't know. Maybe animation needs to be more stylized and more fantastic or something like that. But Final Fantasy was a well played movie, and I'm sure, hopefully, like it had some leaps and bounds for stuff like that. It's like one of those things where, like, if you were trying to make a movie, and you're like, if you were trying to make a movie like that, then you would reference that. It's kind of like if you were in a courtroom and you're trying to present a precedence for a certain thing, you would look at former cases to see if there were any that said that was something that should happen, you know, the way it does. This movie is one of those things where it's like, can the animation do that? Do you remember the Final Fantasy movie? Yes. The Final Fantasy movie, the animation is stellar. Story, like I said, dismal, but entertaining. Like the Animatrix. The Animatrix had some really cool animation and stuff like that, and showed different aspects of animation, but the stories were pretty dismal. Like a lot of stories were like, oof. That's why I was a super big fan of it. But the Final Fantasy, like I said, epic. I didn't get any other Final Fantasy movies. There were none really that got me. They had Advent Children. I think I had that at one point. I don't know if I still have it, but I did have it at one point. That was interesting and well played, but not as good to me personally as Final Fantasy film. Because I think I saw it in theaters, so I had like a different thought process on it. But anyways, second movie, boom, Cat's Eye. Stephen King's Cat's Eye. This movie is fun because it's an anthology. It's essentially 3 stories that are held together by a cat. Basically, the cat is in and out of each of the stories, and so you get this aspect that it has a flow to it because of that, and so it's easy to watch. Like it's one of those things where it's like if the story didn't have anything connecting them, it's kind of like why are you showing me these three different tales, unless you intermingled them and you got to see the conclusions of each of them at the end, which is a way of storytelling. That's fine. I guess, like I said, me being somebody who grew up on, thanks to my mom, grew up on Star Trek, I like dual storylines. I like where you have a main story going on and then you have a secondary story going on and then both of them interact. It's one of those things where it's like, you tell the story, but there would be like a boring part in your story. Well, then you cut before the boring part, you go to the secondary story and you go till there's maybe a boring part on that story, then you cut back to the other story, and that's how you keep the flow of the story going. Because that's what they did on Star Trek all the time. There was always stuff going on in the ship, stuff going on outside the ship. So there was that, and then like that's how I enjoy writing and stuff like that, personally. But each story has its own needs, if you will. But I like the fact that these were intertwined like that, and the final story has Drew Barrymore in it, which is she's a little kid and this cat's trying to steal her soul, but the cat's not really trying to steal her soul. There's actually a goblin who's trying to steal her soul, and all over this movie is that police song, Every Step You Take. Every step you take, you know that one, is all over this movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely see it. There's a funny little beginning part where they basically, it's not as much a spoof as just a interesting tap, if you will, or a nudge. What was the thing? Would you like to nudge somebody? I don't know what it was. No, I don't want to nudge you, but throw balls? No, thank you. But yeah. Fourth movie. And also, I like the animation, like not the animation, just the style of filmmaking that they do with this little troll that's running around, because it's essentially big sets. They basically made what? No.
Hello, have you tried Cinnamite snacks? They're delicious. The cinnamon pain will fill you with blight, or perhaps suffering, cinnamon suffering. Cinnamite snacks, the snack that bites back. Unless somebody's taken it. Is that copyrighted? I don't know. Cinnabites will have to deal with that. Get the box. The puzzle box.
Alright, welcome back to the show. And where were we? We were on some stuff before we had our devastating power failure. Hopefully the framing is better now, because I noticed that the framing before was lower because I was checking that, and I am sorry about that. We can only do what we can do, okay? And movie number 4 in this, to keep the pace going, got my energy drink. Bam! John Carpenter's Vampires. That's right. John Carpenter's Vampires. If you haven't seen John Carpenter's Vampires, I'm not going to highly recommend it, but I am going to kind of suggest it, because in the pantheon of vampire movies, John Carpenter's Vampires is pretty entertaining and pretty cool. The way that they pan it out, and like I said, John Carpenter's a master of just doing these movies that are just fun. I mean, just really, really, really. It's like one of those things. They're fun. They're fun movies. It's not like The Thing. The Thing I would not say is as fun, but it's fantastic. Like I said, one of those things where it's like, he just knows how to make a great horror movie. Like the man, I like the fact that the man did not get typecast. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, you create the cage that you create the cage you flourish in. And he created a cage that he had the ability to do whatever in the world he wanted or needed to do within, and just made some really great horror films. So, there you go. John Carpenter's Vampires. He also does the soundtracks for them, which is super cool. It's just, it is really cool. It's cool. Just do both those, you know? Yeah. Anyways. Our fourth movie. Oh, and if you don't know what vampires is, it's about vampires. I'll give you the basic plot. There's some guy hunting vampires, but then he ends up finding like the vampire, and that is a formidable adversary for him, and it gives him insurmountable odds to fight against, which is always a entertaining story when you're presented with something that is like, I don't know how they're going to beat that. I don't know how they're going to, win on this one. There's no, how, and finding out how they do that is always an entertaining story. I think that leads to the Superman paradox also, because Superman is so powerful. It's like, I mean, like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, and when he starts flying and stuff like that, it's one of those things where I don't know. I always thought they should do a story with a creature that was like a lady or something like that was created out of kryptonite. It was like made of kryptonite, like the planet of Krypton was actually this kryptonite ball of people, whatever in the world, or a ball of creatures, and then when it exploded them out, and their whole, because maybe they were held in there as a prison, and so they just hate people that were from Krypton. I don't know, but a creature made of kryptonite would be a formidable adversary for Superman. I don't know. I want to see the new Superman movie because James Gunn knows what he's doing, so we'll see. Anyways, I don't know if we can break the curse, but whatever. The fourth movie, yeah, after I smack my ADD back. Okay, fourth movie, Videodrome. This is hands down my favorite David Cronenberg movie of all time, because I'm not a super David Cronenberg fan, but this and my number 2 favorite David Cronenberg film I cannot find. For some reason I cannot. It's hard for me to find, but Existence is my second favorite Cronenberg movie. I'm not a bit, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Cronenberg. People are like, oh, The Fly. I like the original The Fly, where the reveal was like he took the thing off and it was a big Mac. That's great. I enjoy that kind of stuff. I find that very fun. But I'm not a big fan of body horror, and the new remake of Fly was pretty much like, that's just gross. It's just I just find it to be a film of gore, and it's like one of those things where, like, I don't find gore scary. It's just gory, and in that kind of movie, it's one of those things like it's just gore, and it's like gore does not keep me entertained. A good story keeps me entertained, and like I said, I rank movies on rewatchability. It's one of those things like, why do you think that this, like, for me, the question is, why do I think this movie is great? Because I can watch it a million times. Like, I can watch it over and over again. And I'm not saying that that's criteria, or maybe that should be criteria for most everybody, but that The Fly, the remake of The Fly, does not cover that for me. It could cover that for somebody else, and that's cool. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that like that remake, but I like the old school campy one with the reveal of just because it's like the guy in the fly head mask, and he's like, and they take the cloth off. It's like, oh man, that's so good. I enjoy that kind of stuff. So, I think because of that, there's a lot of body horror stuff that's fixed. Like I said, and a great movie will transcend genre. Like, The Thing is a body horror, but The Thing is fantastic. I really like The Thing because of just the great storytelling that's done in that movie. And like I said, transcends genre. I'm not a big fan of body horror, but I am a fan of The Thing. And like I said, I think because Cronenberg does a good amount of body horror, I'm not a super big fan of his stuff. So it's like, there's none of his stuff like caught on to me. Like, if I'm joking around and somebody's like, what's your favorite David Cronenberg film? I'll be like, Nightbreed. that's a jokey answer because David Cronenberg is in the movie, but it's actually a Clive Barker movie. If I'm not mistaken, directed by Clive Barker. Not a hundo on that one, but definitely a story by Clive Barker. I think it was directed by Clive Barker. But David Cronenberg is in it as the villain. Anyways, David Cronenberg wrote and directed Videodrome. Videodrome, I think, is unique in its storytelling, and I found it to be a really interesting thing. It's always semi-meta to watch a movie that's anti-movie kind of thing, where it's just like, yeah. And I think they should make a sequel to this. It would be so awesome. I have an idea. I'll tell it to you eventually. Like I said, I have plans. And like I said, maybe when I'm done doing this video, I'll go ahead and do this planned video. It's going to be my new trailer video. Maybe later. No, maybe not this year. Maybe with the other one with the quote on there. I think that one's funnier. But this one, zero. People are like, oh man, you're a fan of that rapper. No, this is actually the shirt that like Billy Corgan wears on the Smashing Pumpkins song "Blue Butterfly Wings," and like I've seen videos with Billy Corgan like, oh, that song's horrible. Blah, 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 blah. That's the only song by Smashing Pumpkins I'm really a big fan of, honestly. And it's not even that great, but it's amazing comparatively to anything I've made. So, I mean, that's an achievement. I just think that it's more memorable than all. It's like one of those things where it's like it became a big thing personally, in my opinion. Like from what I've seen, what I've observed, it's become a big thing. But it's one of the things like it was kind of like his anti-song, whereas Meredith Brooks made an anti-song, whereas the B song, and it became one of her biggest songs. So it is what it is, man. People like what they like. Doesn't matter what you like. People like what they like. That's just what happens. Anyways, what do these movies have in common? And thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Pick up some Cinnabites. Delicious. Cinnamon pain. But what do these 4 movies have in common? What is Final Fantasy, Stephen King's Cat's Eye, Vampires, John Carpenter's Vampires, and Videodrome, David Cronenberg's Videodrome, have in common? Do you know? I'm going to give it to 3. 1, 2, 3. All these movies have James Woods in them. Bam. What? Final Fantasy, James Woods is the villain. You know, the guy like firing off that gigantic gun thing. Stephen King Cat's Eye, James Woods is in I believe, the Quitters Anonymous, which is the first little short story. He's the main character in Vampires, and he's the main character in Videodrome. So, that's what it is. Thank you so much for watching. I am Wade, and this is From the Well channel, and I'm an artist and a physical media collector, and I will be doing a video a day until I get a silver play button, or a gold play button if I'm lucky, or if I run out of physical media to show you, but I do have a lot of physical media to show you. I have movies, which is the biggest collection. I don't know if I have more CDs or books, but there's CDs and books, so I'm going to go that way. What? Oh, I don't necessarily know what these have in common. No, wait. Okay, this is going to be an interesting one because the pages milled together. See you tomorrow, okay? See you tomorrow, people.